The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased and proud to yield time to the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Delaney, because of his leadership, not only on this issue, but on small business opportunities, on EGCs, and the fact that he negotiated on this legislation led us to bipartisan support. Mr. Delaney, I yield to you as much time as you may consume.
The gentleman from Maryland is recognized for such time as he may consume.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the ranking member for her support and leadership on this legislation. I also want to thank the gentleman from Virginia for his support, and most importantly, I want to thank my friend, the gentleman from Tennessee, for giving me the opportunity to co-author this piece of legislation with him. Mr. Speaker, emerging growth companies that raise capital from private investors have two options available to them to give their investors a return. The first option is to take the company public, and the second option is to sell the business. The data overwhelmingly suggests that when companies go public, the companies are very likely to take the capital they raise in a public offering, invest it in the business, create jobs, and hire Americans, as compared to when companies are sold, which are often done for strategic reasons based on consolidations and often result in jobs being lost. So while companies are completely free to make whatever choice they want to make, we as policymakers should certainly be trying to level the playing field as it relates to initial public offerings to make them more accessible for emerging growth companies, particularly if they can be done without compromising investor protection. I believe strongly that H.R. 2064 does in fact do that. My colleague from Tennessee went through the specifics in terms of the processes that are being improved by the bill. I have some firsthand experience with this process, having started two businesses in the private sector and taken them both public on the New York Stock Exchange, an experience that taught me that a company's initial public offering, as it relates to due diligence and scrutiny and oversight, is the day where they have the most focus by regulators and investors and underwriters. So it's certainly a time where we have an opportunity for more flexibility around timing, which I believe this bill does and will do successfully. It will lead to more initial public offerings. It will hopefully reverse the trends that we've seen across the last several decades where the number of initial public offerings have decreased. And as I said in my opening comments, the more IPOs we have, the more likely companies are to invest in their businesses, create jobs, and hire Americans. It's good for our economy, and I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 2064. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman